Hey guys, we're back with chapter 4 of Tumbling Blue. Welcome to the attic.
Blue spent most of his first day in Murky Branch trying to figure out how he fit into his own family. 3 of his cousins lived with his grandmother. The twins, Jenna and Ida, were 16. They were willowy and pale, and they would have been identical down to the last eyelash if Ida hadn't chopped her blonde hair short and dyed it with rainbow stripes. Jenna had the ability to charm any animal she met, which was a useful talent when it came to protecting her twin. Animals hated Ida. The chicken coop in front of the house was empty, they told Blue, because Ida had almost lost an eye in an enraged Rhode Island Red. Then there was Howard, who, at 14, was 2 years older than Blue and gifted with the weirdest skill Blue'd ever heard of. "I'm good at eating," he explained. That morning, while Blue waited for his chance to dip from a pan of scrambled eggs on the stove.
As he spoke, Howard was shoveling a quivering pile of eggs onto his plate beside a leaning tower of tomato slices. He didn't look anything like the twins, or like Blue for that matter. All of Eve Montgomery's grandchildren had different grandfathers, and it showed. Howard had dark hair and black eyes, and he was so muscular that Blue was sure he'd never had to deal with being picked on at school. "How's eating a talent?" he asked. Howard scooped a forkful of egg into his mouth and gulped. "I can eat as much as I want," he said, gesturing to the plate, "without making myself sick or needing to burn off the calories." He pulled up the sleeves of his ratty black t-shirt and struck a cartoonish pose in front of the stove, flexing his biceps so that the veins in his arms stood out. "See? I could totally arm wrestle you to the ground." Blue snorted and started scraping the last bits of egg out of the pan. "Everyone could arm wrestle me to the ground, even when one of my arms isn't broken."
"True," said Howard cheerfully, "but you didn't steal everyone's nasty old shoes off the porch. Did you forget to pack your own or something?" They sat down at the table with the twins, who were drinking huge mugs of coffee. Blue was about to start quizzing Howard on how, exactly, his gift worked. Could he survive on candy bars and chips? Did he ever get full? But Ma Myrtle shuffled into the kitchen, and everything went downhill fast. She spied Howard's mountain of eggs, and in a moment the two of them were embroiled in what Blue guessed was an ongoing argument. Ma Myrtle wanted Howard to challenge someone named Baggett Flack to an eat-a-thon. "I've told you," Howard said irritably, "I don't want to do eating contests, not even against the Flats. It's not fair." "Nonsense," she said. "Unfair is Baggett Flack, giving me food poisoning last Easter. He knew those deviled eggs had gone bad." Ida tucked a strand of pink hair behind her ear. "Ma Myrtle, that was an accident, and you know it." "We Montgomerys have a duty not to squander our talents. We must maintain the family dignity. Weren't you up on a roof last night?" Howard retorted. "How dignified is that?" Jenna sighed and gestured to her sister. Ida nodded. She leaned over to whisper in Blue's ear. "They're just revving up," she said. "This will go on forever. You might as well come upstairs with us if you want a quiet breakfast." Blue, feeling a little pleased to have been invited, followed the two of them out of the kitchen.
The twins and Howard seemed happy enough to tolerate Blue's presence in the house. Ida was especially friendly, and there was plenty of room to go around. But all too soon, there were other newcomers to the household. Mom Myrtle spent a lot of time making phone calls to Montgomerys all over the world. She was the only person who knew exactly when the red moon would rise and exactly how to claim the great face when it did. And she would be the one who decided which member of the family won the chance to change his or her fortune. Over the next few days, relatives showed up in droves. Mostly the arrivals were the ones with bad fates, as Blue had suspected they would be. But others came too. The empty rooms in the huge old house were filled. Then they were overfilled, until at last an elderly uncle who couldn't climb the house's many staircases, and Blue found himself ousted from his space on the ground floor. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and there wasn't a single empty room to be had. Blue would have to sleep in the attic. Ida helped him move his belongings. There was no bed in the attic, but they found an air mattress in a closet. Ida sat on the floor, her pink pajamas turning gray from all the dust, and tried to figure out how to inflate the mattress, while Blue rearranged boxes and ranted about Howard. I thought maybe he would share with me just his bedroom floor or something, but he wouldn't. And when I tried to force open the door, ow, Ada said sympathetically, who electrifies their doorknob? Blue kicked a cardboard box. There were dozens of them. He could barely manage to clear space for the mattress. Howard does, since we were kids. He's not sheriff.
Blue's hand still felt numb from the powerful shock Howard's booby trap had delivered. It didn't improve his mood. The house is going to fall down if one more cursed person shows up. How many relatives do we even have? Ida shrugged and leaned back against the wall in an old washing machine box. You know how Montgomerys almost never change our last names. Even people who wouldn't normally count as relations, like our 6th cousins twice removed, are still part of the family. She set aside the instruction sheet that had come with the mattress. I think we need a pump of some kind for this. Great, Blue grunted, pushing against the heavy crate. I know it's a pain, Ida said. I finally had to move in with Jenna, and we've never shared a bedroom before. Her pets. Sorry, Blue said, feeling guilty for complaining. But she keeps the gerbils in their cages, right?
Don't call them cages, Ida groaned. They're habitats. And the little monsters haven't managed to escape yet. Gerbils were the compromise the twins had come up with years ago, because they were, in theory, safe enough for Ida to be around. But Jenna had trained them. She called them the Gerbellion, and they were smarter, faster, and stronger than normal gerbils. It's okay. Ida looked around the attic. At least there aren't cobwebs in our room. Or boxes. Blue's shoulders were starting to ache. His big crate was too heavy to shove. What's in these things anyway? It's... Ida hesitated. Just junk. Don't bother looking. I'm sure we can find somewhere else to put them when Granny Eve wakes up. Not unless she's got another house hidden somewhere. That guy who can hit anything with a slingshot, great income artist, perfect aim. Whoever he is, he's sleeping in the pantry. Blue had been introduced. Blue had been. I'm sorry. Blue had been introduced to most of the relatives, but remembering their names was impossible. It was easier to think of them as their fates. The cousin who caused car accidents, the aunt who always had a head cold, a semi-famous poet, the toddler who sang country music, that guy who had to live outside in a tent because he caught stuff on fire all the time. They're everywhere, he said, slumping down on top of the crate.
Howard says Mom Myrtle's lost her marble. Ida looked toward the attic window. It was half hidden behind a stack of storage tubs. But I think she just wants to distract herself from the fact that she's, you know. Blue didn't know. It's still not fair to the rest of you. I mean, this is your house. Yours too now. He shook his head. You know I'm only here for the summer. It must be nice, Ida's voice was wistful, to have a dad who doesn't mind that you weren't born with one of the good fates. Blue wasn't sure how to answer that. I thought maybe if I called him and told him how crowded it was here, he might come back early. But I can barely find a moment to use the kitchen phone. And I think that girl who makes the lights flicker fried the one in the foyer.
Cousin Ernestine? She has electrical issues. But we still have the answering machine, said Ida. You can leave your dad a message.
Your dad.
Sorry. Your dad can leave a message. Blue had been checking the answering machine 3 times a day. The two of us will just have to stick together until they're all gone in a few weeks. Ida said, What? You know. She gestured across the space between them. We're the only two who can't. They're all trying to convince Mom Myrtle she should choose them to make the journey into the swamp, and we... Blue squirmed. As nice as Ida was, he didn't want to be lumped together with her like this. She didn't seem to notice. Our school takes a field trip to the Okefenokee almost every year, and I always pretend I have the flu. Ida's animal problem was no small thing. The same curse eventually killed their great-great-grandfather. A plow horse escaped from its pasture just to have the privilege of trampling him.
Stomping around in a swamp full of crazed beasts? No thanks. She smiled weakly at Blue. And you're in the same boat. At least none of the others see us as a threat. Maybe they'll leave us alone till it's over. Blue opened his mouth to argue, to say that he wasn't going to give up, to tell her that he needed a new fate as much as any of the other Montgomerys did. But Ida leaned in towards him and said in a conspiratorial whisper, Anyway, we've already decided. Howard, Jenna, and I have. Granny Eve is the one who should have the new fate. I can't go into the swamp, and Jenna and Howard don't need to. Blue's stomach flopped inside him like a dying fish. Granny Eve's fate? He'd forgotten. Nobody ever talked about it. And she'd been so good to him in her own gruff way. Blue had a feeling that a lot of people wouldn't have been as understanding about an estranged grandson showing up on her doorstep with no warning. Right. He struggled to hide the upset in his voice.
Granny Eve. I hadn't thought about, but of course, if anyone, I guess. Ida nodded. I know what you're thinking, she said. Granny Eve isn't that old, though, and she's as tough as anyone I know. She can make it through the swamp. Blue couldn't find an argument. Granny Eve had practically carried poor Mrs. Lynn inside after her fainting spell a few nights ago, and even though Blue had volunteered to do it, she'd climbed onto the Oak Lane roof herself to make sure that there weren't any stray pages from the Montgomery family history to be salvaged. She's really tough, he said. Ida beamed. Exactly. We're going to make sure she gets the happy ending she deserves. It's the least we can do for her after everything she's done to take care of us. And now you're here too. Well, we're an even stronger team, aren't we? Blue's thoughts were so selfish he almost couldn't think them. We're gonna figure it all out, I said confidently. But for now...
She stood and reached for a pillowcase-covered bundle she'd carried upstairs with her air mattress. She whipped the pillowcase off to reveal a lopsided Easter basket stuffed with knickknacks, and she held it out to Blue. "Surprise!" she said. "I'm sorry, none of it's new, but I haven't really had time to go shopping. I thought you deserved a welcome to the house present, and this was stuff I had in my room, so welcome to the house, and to the attic, I guess." Blue examined the contents of the Easter basket. A rolled-up poster that turned out to be covered in paint splatters, rainbow-colored, of course, a tin of breath mints, a half-burned candle that smelled like lemon cake. He picked up a picture frame decorated with wooden stars and turned it over in his hands. It was empty, his throat clenched up around in an emotion he didn't like at all. "Now, I didn't bring any—" "Oh, you can use Jenna's printer if you need a photo," said Ida. "She'll pretend to mind, but she won't really." When Blue didn't answer, her voice turned worried. I know it's not as good as some of your own stuff. I mean..."
Your dad could buy you whatever you want, I guess, but I thought it might be nice to have some things to make the room more homey. Blue swallowed. "Oh, it's great, Ida." He forced a smile and reached into the bottom of the basket. He pulled out a gray plastic box. "I love it, all of it. Even this, this. That's a no-kill mousetrap. Are there a lot of mice around here?" The attic did seem like the kind of place that would be infested. "No, it's in case the Gerbillon gerbils ever escape." Blue laughed. But Ida shook her head. "You've got no idea what they're capable of." So that's it, guys. Tomorrow we're going to read Chapter 5, Boxes. I hope you see you tomorrow. Goodbye!